Sounds good. So, welcome to our virtual coffee.
Ching.
So, you are actually the one that has been on this project the longest with me, besides my wife, of course, and family. You were the first person I actually talked to about this opera.
Oh, what a privilege.
Yeah, and it was so exciting. It was so random just because your husband, Dr. Hussar, was telling me that you had your graduate project. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your art, where you come from?
Sure, I'm an artist. Think so. I want to
You
be.
are.
I came late to art. I was already married. I already had two kids. I decided to pursue an education. It was mostly thanks to my husband because he was like, yeah, I want to work at the university. So maybe you can, take advantage of that and pursue your art interest and all that. So I did it in 10 years. I got my AA, my undergrad, and then my master's. So I started in 2009 and I finished in 2019. So I met you. I've heard of you because you were working with my husband in his department, but you came to see my show, which I appreciate because usually when you have those kind of shows, you just sit there waiting for
Yeah.
the book to go.
Yeah.
No visitors at all. And I was happy that I had plenty of people coming and visiting my show. So when you came and saw the show and you asked me about collaborations, I was completely up for it because I think as artists shouldn't work by themselves. I think there are so
Yeah.
many opportunities to do stuff with other people and to collaborate and create new things. Not just with one type of medium, but several mediums. And also, I was graduating and I was thinking, well, I will have a lot of time in my hands. It would be nice to have something to do because I didn't have a studio at the time. I was out of school. So I was pretty happy to do it. And I'm happy we did it because it was a very good experience for me to work with different mediums.
I remember coming to your presentation and I was just so stunned and mesmerized by the beauty and the amount of detail you
Mm,
had put into it. It was very easy to see your heart in your art. Every piece had such a unique character and such a
mm,
unique personality almost. I had not thought about collaborating with anyone, and I just thought I feel compelled to just ask you. I had nothing really planned out yet. I was just starting to think of the concept of the story. I didn't even know what characters I would use. And
mhm.
for where I think I was also still trying to figure out where to even start telling the story because there are so many different ways to tell it. And I just jumped on it and was so lucky that you agreed to be on this project with me.
No, well, thank you. Well, yeah, I mostly work on aluminum, or at least those pieces that I made for my grad show. They develop as I go. I mean, I have an idea where I'm going with my pieces, but they just sometimes they take their own lives and they decide they don't want to do something that I wanted them to do. So I have to have a discussion with the material and try to do what the material is allowing me to do. My pieces are big. I consider them jewelry and I call them wearable art. What I do is I want to decorate big part of the body. I understand people like small piece of jewelry to decorate their bodies every day, something practical, something that you don't even think of. But with my big pieces, I want people to decorate their big piece of their bodies, but also think about what they're wearing. I mean, it's impossible to wear what I make and not remember that you are wearing something so big and so delicate at the same time. Although it's aluminum, it's delicate. So it's that kind of dance between using something that is so hard and at the same time making something that is so breakable, let's say.
That's
Um, I enjoy doing that. That's my life. I mean, I don't do it to make money. I don't do it because people want me to do it. I just do it because that's me. It's what
yeah.
I know. That's what I know. That's what I make. That's what comes out of my hands and my brain, and my heart.
Yeah. I think that is absolutely reflected in the costume props that you designed for the
Mm,
opera. Every piece has such attention to detail and the rose petals. It's just this piece of art that brings the character to life, that creates that
yeah.
extra magic that it needs.
Yeah, with those pieces, I wanted to base the model on exubery's drawings
Mhm.
just because it's so identifiable. People see those drawings and they think immediately of the Little Prince
Mhm.
or El Principito, like we call him.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you. Do you want them in metal or colorful? You want them colorful or do you want them in
Yeah.
metal? Which metal would be just the aluminum color. And you said, "Oh, I will like something that is colorful." So immediately for me, it was like, okay, it has to be paper mache because it's lighter. Although the kind of medium that I know better it could have been plastic or many other things, but I chose paper mache. I have the those here that I was worried that it was going to be difficult to wear for the
Yeah.
singer.
The
So
added complication we had also that we should mention is that we were never able to meet with the singers and have you actually get their measurements exactly because then COVID happened.
yeah,
So you
true.
also had that complication of going by what the singers gave us with the
Yeah,
measurements and
yeah,
hoping
that's
that it
true.
fits.
That we made them measure their heads with a piece of string or something like
Yes.
that. And then it worked. Anyway, I was talking about the design of the rose. We can see more or less what looks like, and the idea was to be put like this. I know it's not easy to wear for singer. If it's okay, I mean, I can.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, honestly. It also has that character, the personality of the rose. It's like, am I not just the most gorgeous rose you've ever seen? It
Yeah.
creates that even just seeing the costume prop.
Mhm. My intention with this one was I wanted to make a rose that opened and closed.
Yeah.
But like I told you with my pieces too, sometimes the material tells you I'm not going that way.
Mhm.
Also, it meant that I had to create a more complicated mechanism where maybe the wire wouldn't be covered with paper mache, so the hinges could be open. I decided because after the roast there were many things that we were going to make. Plus, at that point we didn't know that COVID was going to show up, right?
Yeah.
I remember that we agreed that I will make this in the crown, and then we talk about birds, and we talk about stars,
Yeah, we had so many
and
ideas that
yeah.
just were changed drastically.
I usually with my pieces and as with food and all that, I always start with the part that I find more challenging or the one that I like the most.
Yeah.
I decided to work with the rose because it was bigger, it was going to be more challenging. Once I was done with that, I was like, okay, I'm done with the most difficult part, so I can move on to things that are a little bit less complicated. So then I moved to the epaulettes. So
Mhm.
these are the ones for the little prince, the ones that the little prince is wearing on his shoulders. So we talked about a ways to keep it on shoulders, and you were graceful enough to put this magnets down here. They stayed on his shoulders. Very simple design, again from the drawings.
Even these two pieces have so much of the character that the little prince is. It almost has that childlike wonder is encaptured by it. It's so simple, and yet that's also the message of the opera is that we need to see the little things and see the value of the little things. I think those worked beautifully. I could not have
Mhm.
imagined
Thank
anything
you. And the cape that you got in the
awake.
really create the little princess personality. And this were black because the cape is black, so you couldn't see the way it sits on the shoulder because on his suit you can see just the epaulette. You don't see where
Yeah.
it sits. So that's how these were created. Again, this is just cardboard recycled from cereal boxes and food boxes and all that.
Wow.
My family was fantastic. For me to save those things. Mom or Bear, do you want this? Do you want to see this? And so they were fantastic. And on top of it, I covered the cardboard with paper, any kind of paper. It could be leftovers from old printings or newspaper print. And then I covered that once with one coat of white, so I could cover all the letters and all that sometimes you can see through the paint. And then I applied the color that was
Mhm.
color of the piece.
And
So
even colors, you went very closely with what you found in the story too.
yes, I try to because it's the way you identify one thing with the other. You could tell that the king, he wears a crown, but if the crown looks like the one that he's wearing in the book, then you immediately connect that king with the king in the Little Prince,
Yeah.
right? That was the idea for me, at least when I used the same colors that Exupery
Mhm.
used for his book. Although they are a little repetitive, like a lot of yellow, a lot of orange, wash out from that orange. Like I use a combination of yellow and red and some blue for the ears for the fox too.
Yes.
So it's exactly the same kind of hues, but sometimes he mixes them to create another kind of color. We have the crown here that the king looked fantastic, and I'm so glad it fit him so well. So let's see.
Yeah.
It stayed pretty well when I saw him singing with his crown, and he was moving his head and all that. It looked good. This looks a lot like the drawing. Also, but I was very aware that the drawings are two-dimensional, right?
Yeah.
They're very flat. So I was thinking, should I have created just a flat crown with a little circle that you just put there? Like the hat for the Vein Man. That is just
Yeah.
one side and the other is just like this instead of completely rounded. Just
Mhm.
because it's the way you see it in the drawings too. I thought of that after I made it.
And I think that worked beautifully, especially because we then had to switch to the virtual, where the artists would be in front of the green screen and look to the side, pretending to talk to the other character. I think that
Mm-hmm.
worked perfectly. It gave them the freedom to move whichever way they felt make
Mm-hmm.
the story come to life.
By the way, you did a great job with in the artist too.
Yeah.
When they are looking to the side and like all the reactions and they are timed well, which
Yeah.
I know has to do a lot with the editing too, which you did. I know it has been a difficult project for you because of the things you had to do besides creating the music and directing all that. Then you had to do extra things that you didn't know how to.
Yeah, how to edit video, how to edit audio. It was a big learning curve, but I think maybe the good thing that came out of that is that it added maybe that last touch of magic. It's such a unique story. It has that touch of magic, and even with the Zoom backgrounds, maybe that was the last touch of magic that it needed to tell the
Mhm.
story.
Mhm. That's good. I guess it had to be this way for some reason. I don't know if you believe in fate or not, but you did a great job, putting everything together and bringing, the artists together and just putting together everything that everybody did independently
I
and just creating a big piece out of that.
Yeah,
It's very,
I think
very
it's definitely a piece that is reflective of its time, of
Mhm.
COVID, of the quarantine, of the pandemic. None of our performers have ever been in the same room. None of our instrumentalists have ever played together in the same room.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you did not get to meet any of the performers before creating costume props for them, which is so unique and so difficult. And then, of course, our deadline got shortened by
Mhm.
a lot. It was the end of October to write the music.
To me, it had to be by Thanksgiving.
And you were able to do it. I so appreciate the time that you spent on it to also push through
Mhm.
and finish everything. That was
Mhm. Mhm.
incredible.
It was challenging, but it was fun. I like doing it. So hopefully this adds to your beautiful music and to your beautiful production, and we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, I think the beauty of this project is, besides of course the story and telling it and how it came together, is also I've had 3 people already who did not know the story before that have since then started reading the book. I think it's a
Uh-huh.
beautiful addition to be able to make sure that this part of culture lives on and gets known and gets the
Yeah.
attention. It's such a timeless story. The message still very much rings true.
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
changed in a way that we're now very digital, especially during COVID,
Yeah.
to focus on the things that we have.
Yeah. It's a book that makes you reflect about life and what we appreciate and what we don't, I feel. Yeah, it makes you kind of sit back and think, wait, I think I'm too much into my own digital world.
Yeah.
Let's go back and read a book or do something besides just looking at the screen.
What's next for you?
I made already 2 big pieces and I'm working on another one. I really want to work with recycled material. I have been working more and more with wire because that's easy for me to work in the studio that I have right now. And I'm also making small pieces now, rings, and I'm using wires because the waste is minimum with wire. Usually I wrap things around. It's like drawing with wire basically.
Oh, that's beautiful.
There is very minimum waste, and so I'm trying to sell stuff to promote my things, and then just having ideas. I would love to maybe teach some classes, for maybe for people I want to learn basics of jewelry or for kids. But I am still kind of going and around and
Yeah.
around about the idea. It's an idea. It's not, I don't know when it's going to come to fruition, but I think it will. I hope. And yeah, just working with whatever life brings me. Material stuff. I try to be frugal for two reasons with my materials. One is because money, and secondly because I'm very self-aware of, the mining and the exploitation of minerals and all that. So sometimes I go around my studio just looking for stuff. What do I have left over? Oh, I have a piece of copper here. What can I do with that? I have a piece of brass with here. What can I do with that? Or I have some wire left over from something. So, like, what can I do with that? That's for me. That's what is happening right now. How about you?
I have some notes that I want to go back on, but then I'm very close to being done. I want to work out the transitions. I've become, I guess, through this project, kind of the producer, director, editor, and also cinematographer because I have to calculate the transitions. I'm constantly watching and rewatching the scenes, putting myself in a place of how does an audience member see this? How would an audience member see this that knows the story, but also how would someone see this that has never heard of the story? There's so much to think of as a producer, how to tell the story and how to make it something that an audience would like.
Has it changed what you want to do in the future?
I think it has reminded me of I always wanted to be an actress. And I
Mm-hmm.
started my studies as a theater arts major. And then I took a voice class and I realized I just miss music. And I became part of the applied program at Santa Monica College. And so I went into classical music. And that then led to me writing the first composition with a teacher. I think it just reminded me of my dream was to do voiceovers for Disney. I
Mm-hmm.
love I just love the work of and Disney, Pixar, all the animated movies. I think this project reminded me of how much I love being a storyteller. And
Mm-hmm.
being the producer of this kind of rekindled that where that's what I love about this, being the storyteller and bringing characters to life. When I was creating the last scene, actually, that the little princess in, it was almost emotional because I realized this is the end of a journey. I've been on this for almost 2 year long journey with this character, and
Mm-hmm.
it was almost very overwhelming and sad to. Of course, that's a sad scene too, as you know what happens, but it was also so metaphorical of this. Well, this is what has to happen. This is what life is, and it reminds me of this one quote. I think it's by Nikita Gill that says, "Life is not like a perfectly thought out story. It's sometimes it ends, characters leave too soon. Sometimes things don't work out the way that we think, and sometimes it ends in the middle of a sentence. You don't
Mm-hmm.
even get to finish the sentence." And
That's true. Yeah, for you finishing it, it's like a death, you know?
yeah,
Like they die. It's like finishing a very good book
yeah,
where you're like, and you know what? I remember the week of my show, I was very, very sad. So don't be surprised that it happens to you. Because it's like now what? But you'll be done soon. So
yes. I think what I look forward to as well is the conversations that could happen afterwards. I would love to hear from people what they thought because it is my version of the story in a way,
mhm.
my vision of the meaning of the story, and I just can't wait for the conversations after. Well, I think that's a good segue to round out our
Yeah,
little.
yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. This is lovely.
Ah, you're welcome.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
your time. I know you're busy too.
It's very important to see the process that went into the
Hmm.
props and the love to detail that you imbued in it and part of your heart that is so visible in it. I want the world to know the person behind these beautiful costumes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I was able. We were able to work together,
Me
and
too.
we're still friends.
It was the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, yeah.